is Joy News Prime.
Tonight on Joy News Prime, controversial preacher Bishop Daniel Obinim talks about the 2 days he spent behind bars following his release on Thursday, accusing some police officers of maltreating him whilst in their custody. We'll bring you a reaction from the police. Imani Ghana accuses the country's main political parties of making campaign promises that are non-quantifiable and too vague to be tracked. The New Patriotic Party has accused President Mahama of dividing the country with its decision to remit the sentences of the 3 persons who were convicted for threatening justices of the Supreme Court.
Ahead in business, Bank of Ghana has begun discussions with industry players to redraft guidelines covering mobile financial services in the country following complaints by some banks that the current laws don't favor them.
Also in the bulletin, university teachers demand a reduction in the number of freshmen to be admitted into the country's universities for the 2016-2017 academic year if government insists on not hiring additional lecturers. My name is Israel Lai, and Joy News Prime is still the most comprehensive 2 hours of television news in Ghana. It is also available across Europe on ABN Television. Please stay tuned. Now, very first story, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, has called on management of public universities to cut down on the intake of fresh students for the 2016-2017 academic year. The association says the cutback in admissions has become necessary because of government's failure to lift the ban on the recruitment of lecturers into the public universities, which is affecting teaching.
The understanding.
Speaking at the press conference held in Accra, the president of the association says all efforts to get government to respond to their concern to lift the embargo has not been successful.
We also wish to call on the management of the various universities to consider scaling down drastically the number of fresh students being considered for admission. The fact is that it's not every student that passes that gets admitted into the universities. The university has a process of selecting students for admission. If, for example, KNUST admits 500 students every year, and now we don't have the people to teach them when they come, we are saying that admit the number that those who are at post can handle. So if KNUST does its auditing and realizes that we can admit 200 out of the 500 that we normally admit, that is it. You don't have the means to recruit more people to let the university run the way they should. So let's also admit only the numbers that we can effectively and efficiently handle.
The association has therefore given a 2-week ultimatum for government to address their concern or will advise themselves.
This ban on recruitment of lecturers in particular into the various public universities in Ghana has been a subject of concern to UTAG, and over the past 6 months, UTAG has sought the attention of government on this matter without much success. In a press conference on February 10, 2016, UTAG noted the challenges the ban on recruitment poses to the smooth running of the universities. Following this, a letter dated February 12, 2016 was sent to government seeking to appeal for the unconditional lifting of the ban on recruitment. UTAG will keenly observe the situation for 2 weeks and based on its evaluation, decide on the next line of action. When or if that time comes, we appeal to you all to give us the necessary support to prevent further deterioration of our institutions of higher learning.
Committee are still meeting. The government froze employment into the public sector following huge wage bills. UTAG has consistently agitated over the moratorium and demanded its suspension for what they say is a critical need for essential staff in the various public universities.
Now, today marked day 2 of the 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. work stoppage by staff of the Electricity Company of Ghana to protest plans to cede the company to a private player for about 20 years. The action, which started on Wednesday, will be wrapped up on Friday, with some staff threatening to plunge the country into darkness if government refuses to address their concerns. The leadership of the workers has since distanced itself from that threat. Minister of State in charge of Private-Public Partnership, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, is nonetheless pleading with the workers to perish that thought and engage government on the way forward.
It is one of the areas where there is a controversy. Government has come into conflict with workers because of its policy. And so there's negotiation going on, there's thinking around it going on. But the workers are so determined to have what they want against what the government has proposed. So I see it to be a very thorny issue, which is something that must be resolved.
What is government proposing?
Well, there is an outcry about what ECG represents to us. Everybody is talking about the challenges that we face in our electricity supply and distribution. And so government tries to take steps to remedy the situation by encouraging and working around getting a concessionaire who will intervene and for a period of time take control of ECG.
When you say intervene, what do you mean? And for a period of time, how long?
A period not less than 5-10 years, that will allow the concessionaire to put ECG in the best of terms, in the best of operations, efficiency and effectiveness.
What really have you realized is the fault with ECG?
If you ask Ghanaians, everybody has a reason, something against ECG. People have made jokes on ECG. They have, when their lights go off, everybody talks about ECG.
You speak of people owing ECG, but government owes ECG, and it is here to pay up that debt.
Yeah, government is one of them, and we have to inject some discipline into it. In fact, at the last time the president spoke to us, all of us, ministers and appointees, he said, we are going to make sure that all government institutions have meters fixed, the prepaid meters fixed, and that if you are unable to pay your bill, it will go off.
You speak of homegrown solutions. Your government believes in that, but this does not look like it's a homegrown solution to this particular problem.
Well, it's as far as I'm concerned, this is what, as I told you, we discussed it at policy levels. We came to the conclusion that that is going to be one that can help us. What
really are the immediate steps you take? Because the workers have threatened a nationwide outage by Friday, which is tomorrow, if they don't have a favorable response from government. What are the immediate steps to curtail all of this?
And we need to engage them and we need to talk with them. We need to allay their fears. We need to make sure we let them understand that their jobs are not going to be in jeopardy, and that they will still be working, and that they may even be better off. What I'll do is to appeal to them not to do what they say they will do. It is against the rules of the game to be in negotiation and to threaten your partners in discussion. The best is to continue talking.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. The Greater Accra Regional Branch of the governing National Democratic Congress has launched its campaign task force ahead of the 2016 elections. The 15-member task force, headed by former National Health Insurance Authority Board Sylvester Mensah, will have the responsibility of coordinating activities of the party at the constituency and branch levels. There's more in this report by Joy News' Ernest Kojomenu.
Of the campaign task force at the regional headquarters in Kokomlemle was attended by party stalwarts, national, regional, and some constituency executives as well as grassroots members of the party. Addressing party faithfuls, regional chairman Joseph Adekoka urged members to campaign massively in order to secure a one-time victory for President Mahama and the various parliamentary candidates.
We can only achieve that if, as a region, we come together and prosecute the agenda together. And I hope that by the time we leave here and we go back to our various constituencies, the fight that we have to embark on will have been imbued in us, and we are going to fight and fight and fight and make sure that victory upon victory is ours.
The 15-member committee include policy advisor at the presidency, Dr. Valerie Sawyer, Greater Accra Regional Minister Nilai Afoti-Adbo, and Member of Parliament for Lejakuku Benita Okitijia, meanwhile former Attorney General Betty Modi-Drisu, Gender Minister Nana Oyelitha, and Presidential Staffer Elvis Efriye Ankra are some co-opted members of the team. Campaign coordinator Sylvester Mensah announced the target of the party for the region.
By the targets that we have set, December 7th will see us through a one-straight victory, one touch. The region, thank you, the region would increase its aggregate votes from 1.1 million in 2012 to a minimum of 1.5 million in this year's election, 2016. Our strategies would deliver a victory margin in excess of 300,000 as against 115,000 in 2012, and will increase our parliamentary seats from 20 out of 34 to a minimum of 23, with an overall target of 25 seats.
The party wants to recapture seats it marginally lost in the 2012 elections and has targeted specific seats they will jealously ensure they retain. Joseph Adekoka again.
Yeah, we are looking at, we have got some seats that we have targeted. These are marginal seats which we lost narrowly in the last election. So we are determined to go and ensure that we get those seats back. But you see, our 20 seats that we have got, we are going to make sure that we retain them. The Collect Clotte, the Ningo Pampram that you are talking about, every effort will be made to ensure that we retain those seats.
Why? According to Sylvester Mensah, the next 4 years of the party, should they win the 2016 elections, will focus on employment and industry.
Our emphasis in the last 4 years as government has been largely on infrastructure. The next 4 years shall be focused on industry, employment, and policies that improve human satisfaction index.
Ernest Kojomeno for Joy News.
Also, the opposition New Patriotic Party has accused President John Mahama of using the laws of the country to favor members of the National Democratic Congress. Speaking at a news conference in Accra, national organizer of the party, John Boadu, said the president's decision to remit the sentences of Alistair Nelson, Godwin Akugan, and Salifu Mase only shows a desire to let members of the governing party who act contrary to the laws of the land go scot-free. The president on Tuesday announced a remittal of the sentence for the trio found guilty of contempt by the Supreme Court. John Boadu told journalists the president, by his action, is driving a wedge between NDC supporters and the rest of the population as far as the country's laws are concerned.
After failing to portray the NPP as divided, President Mahama has succeeded in dividing Ghana. Under Mahama, as a leader of both NDC and Ghana, we now have one law for NDC and another law for majority of Ghanaians. Tomorrow, thanks to President Mahama, 3 men who led a campaign to visit deaths and rape on our Supreme Court judges have had their prison terms commuted and will be out after just serving a quarter of it. The president is prepared to let the judges of this country live and work in constant fear of being killed than see those who have put the lives of our judges at risk spend just 4 months behind bars. Under President Mahama, we now have 2 Ghana. 1 Ghana for the NDC and another Ghana for the rest of the country. If you are found to be corrupt, a thief, or you violently attack persons, you can be sure of getting away with it if you are NDC. Because in Mahama, we have a president who is divisive and tolerant of crime when committed by his own people.
John Modi also refuted claims by the president that the NPP is a divided party, alleging that the NDC was behind the rift which emerged within the NPP.
We wish to tell the president that the new patriotic party is not divided. We wish to tell him that the only fight that the NPP is involved in is the fight to rid Ghana of his bad leadership. All the people who contested Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in the 2010 presidential primaries are at the forefront of the NPP campaign today. Alan Chairmantin is at the right side of Nana Akufo-Addo, traveling up and down the country, preaching a positive message of change to the suffering masses of Ghana. Adenimo Jogati, Ose Ameyao, and all of them are fully committed to an Akufo-Addo victory. A party that gives its leader over 94% of its grassroots support cannot be said to be split in the middle. No amount of voodoo mathematics can change this fact. This is 94% of competitive election and not election with oneself. The NPP is peaceful. We are proud of our non-violent history and our faith in the rule of law and democracy. We have in Akufo-Addo a man whose record is an open book. Chairman, he has Honorable Freddie Blay addressed the nation, where we exposed that much of the problems in the New Patriotic Party were orchestrated, sponsored, and fueled by the ruling party. And have you also noticed that since that time, and for the whole of 2016, the reports of MPP on MPP have all stopped. Since 2016, the report on MPP have all stopped. This is so because the party took decisive measures to tackle those things.
Private legal practitioner Ace Ankoma has challenged Parliament to start considering passing a Contempt of Court Act that provides a common definition for contempt in Ghana. He believes it is time for a review of contempt laws drawn directly from English common law, of which the UK has redefined since 1981 and recently in 1995.
Is it time to pass laws on the hottest law on everybody's mind and mouth now, or in everybody's mouth now, the law of contempt? If so, why have we not changed it in all of these years? Because we've had the power to pass our own laws since 1957. Why have we not changed it? There's the need to quickly consider a Contempt of Court Act that defines contempt in such a way that we all accept socially, and to the extent that we all agree on something and also prescribe the punishment for it. It will seek to maintain the balance between the right of free speech and commentary on court proceedings. Till Parliament steps to the plate, let your criticism of the court be measured and tempered. When we discarded the criminal libel regime, many shouted Uhuru, but it wasn't Uhuru yet, because words can still bite the utterer of the words. It was not the case that the repeal of the criminal libel law meant that speech was going to be forever free. Because when you look at the Constitution and the right to free speech, which also includes the right to expression, and it includes the freedom of the press and media, the Constitution itself tells us that that right is subject to a number of derogations.
His call comes even as the prisons are set to release the 3 persons who were convicted for threatening justices of the Supreme Court on Friday after President Mahama remitted their sentences. Ace Nkrumah cautions a constitutional crisis looms if the Apex Court also decides to reverse the president's decision.
If you read Article 72, the president has the power in consultation with the Council of State or upon the advice of the Council of State, is one of the two, to grant a remission. Well, the judiciary has exercised their power. The president has exercised their power. The court says the judiciary can have the final say. They can say, Mr. President, thumbs up, what you did was right. They can say, no, we disagree with you, but we won't touch it. Or we disagree with you, and we have reversed it. Now, that will be very interesting. That will be very interesting because it pushes us right into the middle of a constitutional crisis. If the judiciary now says, no, we disagree with you, so the people should, well, the people will return to jail. That will be very interesting. So we are in for interesting days based on how this case goes. But the court could simply say he's exercised his power. We think that the exercise of his power does not breach any provisions of the Constitution. So, Mr. President, you've done well. Or that, Mr. President, you didn't do well. It's up to the court to say.
Back to some politics now. Policy think tank Imani Ghana has described the campaign promises of the various political parties in the country as non-quantifiable and too vague to be tracked. According to Imani, thorough research conducted into the promises revealed there's not enough information to support how they can be realized. The special report examined the major campaign promises made by the 6 main political parties in the run-up to the December elections. Raymond Aqua has more in this report.
Imani Ghana explained that out of the 247 promises made collectively by the parties, only 18 can be assessed. This means most of the campaign promises by the leading political parties are almost empty and without substance. According to Imani Ghana, out of the 49 promises made by the PPP, only 3 of them were measurable. For the CPP's 38 promises, only 4 were deemed to be attainable. One of the unattainable policies Imani reckoned is the mobilization of 2 million youth to plant 1.2 million almond trees to raise over 3 billion Ghana cedis. Nana Akufo-Addo Ajman Rawlings' NDP, according to Imani, spent quality time complaining about the various sectors without its leader stating the plan of action to resolve them. Thus, out of the 45 promises assessed, only 4 were deemed to be attainable. Lead researcher at Imani Ghana, Hubert Ni Aposa, explains both the NDC and the NPP are equally culpable of making these unquantifiable promises.
Under social policy, 3 promises, 1 semi-quantifiable, is one of the vague ones that we found, and in fact there are several of them. You know, they promise to revive the collapsed NHIS. Revive it. Revive. Okay, so again, we need to have some clarifications. Some clarification here. In what ways has the NPP found the NHIS to have collapsed? Because you are saying it has collapsed. So, okay, now moving on to the final party, NDC. Again, same problem. No manifesto, didn't go to IE encounters, so we had to resort to rally transcripts, various media outlets like Daily Graphic and Peace FM, etc. So we found 20 promises, and 6 of them were quantifiable. No semi-quantifiable promise, and then 14 non-quantifiable promises were found. One promise for governance is that it wants to provide competent leadership. Competent leadership. In the second term, by building on what has started in the first term. Okay, so what specifically does NDC mean by providing competent leadership?
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break for business, but still to come, Ghana's most talked about preacher today, Bishop Daniel Obinim, has lashed out at some officers of the Ghana Police Service. He says maltreated him during the period he was in their custody.
The Bible says that, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. For those who did, especially to disgrace me, I leave you to Jesus.
He has some other things to say. We'll bring you all that when we're back from business. Emmanuel Abadji is here with business. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Izzy.
All right, what's coming up?
Well, the Bank of Ghana has decided to engage stakeholders in the money transaction business, mobile money business, to redraft guidelines to regulate the sector, actually.
Okay, apparently there's some complaint from what the banks?
From the commercial banks, of course. It's eating into their business.
Yeah, anyway, all right.
Thank you very much. The Bank of Ghana has begun discussions with industry players to redraft guidelines covering mobile financial services in the country. The move has been influenced by complaints from some banks that the current laws are not helping them. The Bank of Ghana last year introduced electronic money issue guidelines to regulate mobile financial services in the country. Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiama, tells Joy Business he's hopeful this engagement will address concerns of the banks.
So, as you know, the mobile money area is quite a dynamic one. It changes by the day. And so, in 2015, as I said, we introduced those guidelines, and we made it clear that we were going to review them in a short time. So, rightly so, we are making consultations with stakeholders for us to be able to revise those in tandem with development in the industry. Opening up the mobile money space actually facilitates a lot of things. As we discussed during the presentations, now you can invest just through treasurables, just through your mobile phone, which is a good innovation. And so all these are coming in, which is good. Hopefully, when we come out with the new regulation, it will become all-encompassing. But for us, this is the way to go. The mobile money area is really a win-win.
Something that you will consider?
It's something that we'll look at. It's something that we'll certainly look at.
And finally, Governor, you also made an appeal to the banks not to see mobile money as competitors but collaborators.
That's certainly so. They are not competitors in any way. We are currently working on, designing a common platform for retail payments. We hope that with all these innovations in place, they will be able to find some space to operate within. It's not about competition, it's about complementing each other.
Ghana's most talked about preacher today, Bishop Daniel Obinim, has lashed out at some officers of the Ghana Police Service. He says maltreated him during the period he was in their custody. The controversial preacher was detained for 2 days after he handed himself in to the police for flogging on live TV 2 members of his congregation he says are his adopted children. Addressing members of his congregation following his release on bail on Thursday, Bishop Obinim, whilst chiding the police officers who were cruel to him, praise those who were kind to him.
We go from Tema, crime officer, commander, to Accra, and
from Tema to Accra, all the senior officers gave me due respect as a man of God. For the junior officers who disrespected me, I leave them to Jesus Christ. When I complained, they told me to forget it because I am a man of God. Aren't men of God human? That was the question they asked me.
Me do a deputy you know. Or say then I'm a cancer and rather than say and then me and I say baby from fine.
He categorically denied claims that he had defrauded someone to the tune of 11.6 million Ghana cedis, vowing that he has never met the said complainant.
kama asɛm na yɛsi na obi nso asa bɛbɔ wo charge sɛ wagye ne sika na wohwɛ nipa na wogyina hɔ yɛsi magye ne saa sika na wobisa ne 1 million kwa wonya bi ma wo na saa nkwasi asɛm sɛ Ghana.
While talking to officers at the headquarters, I was told of the case of defrauding. Taking a good look at the person, he doesn't even seem to own 100 Ghana cedis. The Bible says that, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. For those who did, especially to disgrace me, I leave you to Jesus.
Jesus Christ. And yes, a minimum po Namakasa minimum. Minimum, a bunch of me who would die. Menuko who would die. Minsha would die. 11.6 billion. Who's our branch and who school here?
It's not as if I know the complainant. Talk less of denying him. Where and how did you give me 11.6 million Ghana cedis? Looking at him, I wonder how he got that kind of money and where he even got it from. He looked so tattered to even own 200 Ghana cedis. You have allowed yourself to be used in disgracing me. This is your end.
And you are to two sound crofano and crophobia 2 many see what be so Ghana ha. So my family who knew about Brahma so having Kobusa sang of us away. And almost friend on my day or my tea. Police me Baku Bisam say Bishop, respect. A buonti or question be a Bisano. Nam say me dance. Me dance. Oh, police for me be answer.
I was given the clearance by senior officers to ask this complainant a question. Some policemen are wise. The complainant said he put the 11.6 million cedis in a Ghana must go back to my Tema office. How? I don't even have an office at Tema. Any of my church members can testify to that. What at all have I done? And what at all am I doing to deserve this hatred and envy? I haven't even finished dealing with the Dofsu case, and yet another is at stake.
Asemwa ba me shove watch them mpanifuo asemwa ba me shove watch Joseph mpanifuo a me bo mo respect me cheche ma kire omo na mo sa da sampo flasa beto me so adai.
Meanwhile, police Thursday morning failed to present Bishop Daniel Obinim in court despite being bailed to appear. The police had indicated he would be presented before court, having been held in custody for 48 hours. Several journalists who thronged the court in anticipation of his arrival had to leave when they realized that many police officers who were deployed to control the anticipated crowd had been dispersed. District Commander for Accra Central Police ACP Mami Tiwa Adodankwa could not explain the no-show but indicated she acted on instructions.
We had instructions to be here and we've had instructions to disperse the men, and that is exactly what I've done. So their presence here is no longer required. So that's why I've asked them to disperse.
Can you confirm whether he's been granted bail?
I can't confirm. My directives were very simple: disperse the men, and that is exactly what I've done.
And what does it mean to the case in itself?
I don't have any briefing on that. I had specific instruction to come and provide security. We've done that. I've been asked to disperse them, and I've done that. All other things, I cannot comment.
Boss. Well, the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service has denied media reports that the court has granted bail to the embattled Bishop of the International God's Way Church, Daniel Obinim. Media personnel and officers of the police service gathered at Circuit Court in Accra in anticipation of the controversial preacher. But speaking to Joy News, Public Relations Officer of the CID, ASP Joseph Benefo Dakwa, said the police have not concluded investigations into the alleged cases of fraud and assault for which he is being held. Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service has denied media reports that the court granted bail to the embattled bishop. Media personnel and officers of the police service gathered at a circuit court in Accra in anticipation of the controversial preacher. But speaking to Joy News, Public Relations Officer of the CID, ASP Joseph Benefo Dakwa, said the police have not concluded investigations into the alleged cases of fraud and assault for which he is being held. He also responded to claims by the bishop that he was maltreated whilst in custody.
You go to court when you are done with your investigation. You go to court when you have evidence. You don't go to court when you have even not finished with your investigation. So we did not go to court because we have not finished with our investigation. The essence of bail, a police inquiry bail, is to allow us to continue with investigation. So it is only when you are done and you have evidence to go to court, then you go to court.
So the police today didn't go to court with the bishop?
As I've indicated, we have not finished with our investigation.
So there was no court proceedings today?
Certainly.
Concerning the bishop?
No, no court.
So you started with some interrogation already. How cooperative has the bishop been so far?
Very cooperative. He has been very cooperative.
That's why he's been granted bail?
Yes, it's also a reason, and it's also his right, you know. When you're arrested, you have a right to bail, and that's a right, so we've granted him bail.
All right, talk about rights. We know he was arrested first at the Tema police station, then he was brought here to the CID headquarters, then he was moved to the Nima police station. Now, in this whole process, the bishop feels that he wasn't given a fair treatment.
I just don't want to go into that, but I know he told us he was okay with us, so I don't know what you are talking about.
For the bulletin, for more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. We have a number of stories there. The top story is that NPP is accusing NDC of sponsoring fuel and confusion in the party. You can get to My Joy Online and get to read a lot more on that. Until tomorrow, my name is Israel Lai. You have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.